Alright, before we jump into this video, guys, a few things I need to tell you. Number one, we actually have Andrew Tate's phone number, so we're going to send him this video. We hope he likes it. I'm a little nervous. Also, I'm dropping a webinar teaching YouTuber hopefuls how to become YouTube famous. So if you want to check out more about that, there is a link to the webinar down below. Top comments. Okay, so click on that. Alright, let's get into the video. Now, if you've spent any time on the internet over the past few months, then odds are you might have come across a series of videos of a good-looking dude driving in supercars and climbing out of some exclusive private jets. Okay, no, I'm not talking about Dan Bilzerian, although in a lot of ways, well, this guy isn't too far off the mark on that. No, I'm talking about former professional kickboxer Andrew Tate, sometimes known as Cobra Tate. Now, this British-American former world champion, he fought both in the cruiserweight and the super cruiserweight divisions. Although it must be said that he's definitely earned himself more notoriety since retiring from the sport. Now, just how weird does this dude's life story get? Well, let me start with this. Have you ever met someone who claims to have spent centuries living in the middle of Wudan Mountains? I think not. Yeah, strap yourself in, folks, because this is the latest episode before they are famous, and things are about to get really weird. Andrew Tate was born on December 1st, 1986 in the city of Washington, D.C. Now, he was born to his father, Emery A. Tate Jr., a former athlete and wrestling advocate who developed combat skills at an early age. That's before joining the military and becoming an accomplished chess player, going on to win the U.S. Armed Forces Championship a total of 3 times. Now, Andrew's grandfather was also something of a combat expert who Andrew says distinguished himself in hand-to-hand bare-knuckle fistfights in and around the state of Georgia during World War II. In other words, well, Andrew, he comes by his combat expertise pretty naturally. And thanks to his dad's mastery of the game of chess, well, he also considers himself to be something of a tactician. Now, in fact, at the age of just 6 years old, well, Andrew was already practicing the skills that were being passed down to him when he took on other chess players who were nearly double his own age. Now, before I carry on any further with more details about Andrew's childhood, well, I want to make something crystal clear from this point forward. Now, a majority of what you're going to hear, it's come straight from Andrew during an op-ed that he wrote for a former kickboxing equipment sponsor known as Kickboxing. Now, I point this out because, as you'll no doubt be able to tell in just a few moments, a lot of what I'm going to tell you, well, it's going to sound pretty unbelievable, especially towards the end. So, you've been warned. Andrew's legend begins with the story of his birth. Now, according to himself, he was born 2 weeks overdue, and he came out of the womb already breathing through his nose. Now, he points this out in his story as if it's some kind of something that he's proud about, but a quick Google search, it'll tell you that most babies, they're born breathing through their nose, and it's not until they're about 3 or 4 months old that they begin to use their mouth. So I don't know what the big deal is about. Now, when the doctor who delivered him pinched his thigh to get a response, well, he was shocked when Tate, he didn't cry. Rather, the newborn infant simply craned his neck upwards with a stern look on his face to get a better look at his attacker. The kid must have had some stage presence from the get-go. Now, as a child, Tate says that he never cried for attention. Instead, he used grunts to indicate that he was hungry and get what he wanted. Now, most nights he slept on his father's massive chest instead of being tucked away in his crib. Soon after he was able to walk, well, Tate was taught how to defend himself. Now, he started by learning how to keep his balance. His father would make a game out of it by gradually pushing Tate a little harder each day until the final time when he pushed him so hard that Tate, he flew across the room and came within an inch of splitting the back of his head open. That's from the far wall. But all that training, it had paid off because Tate, he was able to catch himself. At the age of only 4, well, Tate, he joined the country wrestling championship for kindergartners, and well, he wound up taking 2nd place. Now, to this day, well, Tate believes he would have taken home 1st place if only his dad had been there to coach him from the sidelines. But unfortunately, well, his dad had to work that day. Now, after Tate's father's military career had come to an end, well, he had to take on a series of minimum wage jobs to keep his family fed. Now, eventually, however, things became so bad that the family, they couldn't keep up with the bills.
How you can be a full-grown man and not be a millionaire? It's amazing to me how little work the majority of people out here are doing. You're a full-grown man living in a transitionary period of humanity where the entire financial system is broken and trillions of dollars are created from the sky, and you don't have a single million? You don't have one? They're everywhere. How you can be a full-grown man and not be a millionaire? Are you dumb?
Around the age of 10, Tate's mother, she packed up their stuff, taking he and his siblings back home to England. Now at this point, without his father around, Tate, he was the man of the house. Now as soon as he was old enough to work in the UK, he got a job moving 80-pound boxes of frozen fish into nearby markets at 5 a.m. in the morning. Now after that, he'd have a full day of school, then on weekends, he'd be back at the market perfecting his blade skills by filleting fish. Now living in the town of Luton, Tate says that he and his siblings, they were teased mercilessly by the local kids because of their American accents. Now eventually, however, Tate's mom, she would enroll her children in a self-defense course just so that the boys and the girls could grow stronger. I don't know if he's got sisters. I just said boys, and then I'm like, well, maybe he does, so let's just say the kids. The kids need to get tougher. With the help of this technician, Tate would master the art of kickboxing and create his own style. One that he, let me try and get this correctly, he calls Tate Shinaki. Tate Shinaki, there it is. I honestly don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I don't know a lot about combat sports, but yeah, I guess he came up with his own style. And apparently it rates pretty highly. After mastering Tate Shinaki, Tate would then retreat to the magical land of the Wudan Mountains, the mountainous range in the northwestern part of Hubei, China, an area of the world with deep ties to ancient martial arts. Remember that first Batman movie with Christian Bale, where he was like, hanging out with what was the guy's Ala Ghul? Kind of like that. Now, heading all the way out there to China seems a little out of the way, but this man is very dedicated. Now, it's here where things got really weird. Now, Tate would go on to state that he spent centuries living in this area of the world and learning the forbidden arts. Yeah, that's a statement that requires some pretty big air quotes. Because how old is he? He's my age. After living longer than any other human on the history of the planet, short or fictional characters like Dorian Gray, Tate would return to England where he would begin his professional kickboxing career in earnest. Now in April of 2009, he beat Paul Randall for the International Sport Karate Association English Light Cruiserweight title. Now it was the first belt he'd ever win, but not his last. Now he also scored the British Cruiserweight title that same year when he beat Daniel Hughes with a first round KO. In December of 2012, he'd participate in Infusion 3 Trial of the Gladiators to determine the world's #1 kickboxer in his weight class. Now he'd make it all the way to the finals, but he lost in the first round after taking a flying knee to the chin. Now, a few years later, Tate, he would take on kickboxing veteran Wendell Roche in June of 2014. Now, Roche had only lost by TKO once in his career to this point in time, but Tate, he would hand him his second defeat on the path to earning the Infusion 90-kilogram world champion title. 2 years later, in December of 2016, Tate, he would lose his championship with a first-round KO. It would be his last match until 4 years later, when in 2020, he'd return to participate in KO Masters 7, where he'd win his final fight to date. Shortly after claiming that victory, Tate would challenge Jake Paul to a boxing match. By the way, Tate's still awaiting an answer on that challenge.
Jake Paul, it's clear to me you are desperate for a reality check. You know what? If I made my money impressing 4-year-olds on YouTube and managed to somehow become a multimillionaire from it, I'd probably live in a dream world too. But let me explain something to you about combat sports. There are a whole bunch of men out here who will never be as famous as you, will never make the money you've made, who would kick the living out of you.
Now, if you're waiting to see if this fight's actually going to happen, there's been no word back yet from Jake Paul. He's been busy picking fights with people his own size, or whatever the hell this was. Now, of course, it's really been outside of the professional sports circuit that Tate has really begun ruffling a few feathers. But to be fair, not all of us are kickboxing fans, which means the first time that Tate really began to build some notoriety for himself as a celebrity was when he was selected to appear on Big Brother UK back in 2016. That show will take anyone, eh? They even had Trisha Paytas. Now, being the son of a master chess strategist, Tate, he immediately got to work trying to outthink his competition. Now, unfortunately, a little personal scandal would wind up getting in his way when British newspaper The Sun, they would receive video evidence of Tate allegedly hitting a girl with a belt. Tate was immediately removed from Big Brother and he was let go from the series. Now, he'd later take to Twitter to let everyone know that the video clip was a consensual act between he and his girlfriend, and that the belt they had used was actually made of felt. So it was more of a private video, I guess. Still, The Sun, man, they'll cut your head off.
Well, that lad. Streets in the bin. Streets in the bin.
Now, you'd love to be able to take him at word for something like that, but unfortunately, well, only a few months later, in the midst of the Harvey Weinstein scandal, well, he'd begin tweeting things like this. Women have been exchanging sex for opportunity for a very long time. Some did this, weren't abused. Honestly, there were a lot more tweets where that one came from, but man, with that whole Me Too scandal, it's best for guys like Tate to sit on the bleachers, you know what I mean? Sit this one out. Eventually, Tate's Twitter profile would be taken down, and while he's tried to get it restarted a few times, well, he mostly just regulates himself to Instagram and YouTube, where you can find endless amounts of him promoting his lifestyle. Now, this content, it falls under Tate's new corporate umbrella of Cobra Tate, a website where users can go and engage in the greatest global network which exists on the planet Earth, and well, it helps people get rich. His words, definitely not mine. Now, I'm actually starting a similar thing, not that I'm telling you guys I'm gonna teach you how to get rich, but I am gonna teach you guys how to start your own YouTube channel from scratch. Or if you got a small channel and you're looking for some help, I've really broken it all down into a 7-week program where I'm gonna turn a few people into YouTube superstars. And then I'm gonna feature them on before they're famous. As I mentioned, check out the link down below. Now, I'm not trying to throw Tate under the bus here. I think the guy's an entertaining character, but we gotta touch upon a troubling article posted by the UK News. It was in the Mirror. It was almost worse than the Sun. Now, they accused Tate and his brother of running a webcam sex ring scam that's it's just too brazen and unbelievable to even get into. I'm just gonna put that out there. If you want to know more, you can figure it out for yourself. As for what the future holds for Andrew Tate, well, I guess I'm gonna find out when we send this video his way, because we do have his phone number. Now, you know, I feel like he's a breath of fresh air. He's an entertaining character. I'm excited to see where he ends up and what he's gonna do with all this notoriety. But at the end of the day, you know, you get yourself in trouble, people are gonna find that stuff, but I guess that's part of his journey. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in another video. Boom!